In a shocking turn of events, Honorable Likando has launched a fierce attack on the Lungu family, sparing no words, even against former First Lady Esther Lungu. What was said in Parliament that could leave her in tears? This is more than politics, it's personal. Stay with us as we uncover every detail. Breaking. Zambian Parliament witnessed explosive moments today as Honorable Likando directly attacked the family of the late President Edgar Lungu with pointed remarks aimed at Mama Esther Lungu. In this in-depth documentary-style video, InspirAfrica official uncovers what Honorable Likando said that stunned the nation. Why Esther Lungu may break down after hearing this. How Zambia's political future is being shaken. Public reactions and political consequences. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more exclusive reports and political analysis from Zambia and across Africa. Intro. Honorable Likando's shocking speech. Context and hypothetical scenario. The introduction suggests that an individual named Honorable Likando, presumably a Zambian parliamentarian or public figure, delivered a speech that caused significant controversy by targeting the family of former President Edgar Lungu. Without specific details about this speech in the provided sources, I'll assume it's a hypothetical scenario where a politician makes inflammatory remarks about Lungu's family, possibly in the context of ongoing political tensions between Lungu's Patriotic Front (PF) and the ruling United Party for National Development (UPND) under President Hakainde Hichilema. The speech could involve allegations of corruption, political misconduct, or personal attacks, given the history of animosity between Lungu and Hichilema. Background on Zambian political climate. Zambia's political landscape has been marked by intense rivalry, particularly between Lungu, president from 2015 to 2021, and Hichilema, who defeated him in the 2021 election. Lungu's presidency was characterized by infrastructure development, but also by allegations of corruption, authoritarianism, and economic mismanagement, including Zambia's default on its international debt in 2020. After losing the 2021 election by nearly 1 million votes, Lungu briefly retired, but returned to politics in 2023, only to be barred from running again in 2026 by a constitutional court ruling. This ruling, combined with accusations of police harassment and restrictions on his movement, fueled perceptions among PF supporters that Hichilema's government was targeting Lungu and his allies. InspirAfrica or New York Times. CombC.com. Hypothetical speech content. Honorable Likando's speech might have capitalized on these tensions, possibly accusing Lungu's family of benefiting from ill-gotten wealth or leveraging Lungu's legacy for political gain. Such a speech could have been delivered in Parliament, a public rally, or a media platform, aiming to discredit the PF ahead of the 2026 elections. The shocking nature suggests it included personal or inflammatory remarks, perhaps targeting Esther Lungu or their children, such as Tassila Lungu, who is a member of Parliament. The speech could have reignited debates about Lungu's legacy, including allegations of corruption involving his family, as seen in past investigations into their assets. Wikipedia, org The Guardian, comicij.org. Political motivations. The motivations behind Likando's speech could stem from UPND's strategy to weaken the PF's influence, especially after Lungu's death on June 5, 2025, left the opposition fragmented. By targeting Lungu's family, Likando might aim to rally UPND supporters, deflect criticism from Hichilema's economic challenges, or provoke a reaction from PF loyalists to portray them as divisive. Alternatively, if Likando is a PF member, the speech could reflect internal party strife, possibly criticizing the Lungu family's influence over the party's direction post-Lungu, InspirAfrica.org. Impact and significance. The speech's shock value lies in its breach of political decorum, especially if delivered after Lungu's death, when Zambian tradition emphasizes mourning and unity. It could deepen the rift between UPND and PF, exacerbate public polarization, and challenge Zambia's image as a stable democracy. The speech might also reflect broader issues of political rhetoric in Zambia, where personal attacks often overshadow policy debates, as seen in past election campaigns marked by violence and accusations of rigging. BBC InspirAfrica.org. The specific attacks on Edgar Lungu's family. Documented context of attacks. Edgar Lungu's family, particularly his widow Esther Lungu and daughter Tassila Lungu, have faced scrutiny and legal challenges under Hichilema's administration. Esther Lungu has been investigated for corruption, facing charges related to stolen vehicles and property ownership, which she denies. Tassila and other family members have also been targeted in anti-corruption probes, with properties seized and allegations of illicit wealth. These actions are perceived by PF supporters as politically motivated, aimed at discrediting Lungu's legacy. TheGuardian.combc, UKBBC.com. Hypothetical attacks in the speech. In the context of Honorable Likando's speech, the specific attacks might include corruption allegations. Likando could have reiterated claims from a 2019 Zambian Financial Intelligence Center memo alleging Lungu accumulated wealth through corrupt activities, possibly involving Eswatini-based businessman Michelo Shikantu. The speech might have accused Esther or Tassila of benefiting from such schemes, referencing seized assets or ongoing court cases. ICIJ.org. Political interference. Likando might have claimed the Lungu family is orchestrating PF's opposition strategy, using their influence to destabilize Hichilema's government. This could point to Tassila's role as an MP or the family's involvement in funeral funeral disputes. BBC.com. Personal slander. The speech could include personal attacks, such as questioning the family's moral character or exploiting Lungu's health issues, e.g., his achalasia or cardiac complications, to suggest negligence or mismanagement. en.wikipedia.org. Evidence and counterclaims. While corruption allegations against the Lungu family are documented, they deny wrongdoing, and Lungu himself refuted claims of owning property in Eswatini. The PF has accused Hichilema's government of using these probes to suppress opposition, a narrative that could frame Likando's speech as an extension of this vendetta. The lack of conclusive evidence in some cases fuels PF's claims of witch hunting, while UPND argues it's upholding accountability. CIJ.org. BBC.com. Political strategy. These attacks serve to undermine the Lungu family's credibility, potentially weakening PF's support base. By focusing on the family, Likando could aim to shift public attention from Hichilema's economic challenges, such as inflation and kwacha devaluation, to Lungu's controversial legacy. However, such attacks risk alienating moderate voters who view them as vindictive, especially post-Lungu's death. Africa.org. Why Mama Esther Lungu could be devastated. Esther Lungu's context. Esther Lungu, married to Edgar Lungu since 1986, has been a prominent figure as Zambia's former First Lady. Since Lungu's defeat in 2021, she has faced intense scrutiny, including corruption charges related to vehicle theft and suspicious property ownership. These legal battles, combined with the loss of her husband in June 2025, place her in a vulnerable position emotionally and politically. And Wikipedia, or TheGuardian.com. Reasons for devastation. Personal loss. The death of Edgar Lungu, who suffered cardiac complications during surgery in South Africa, would naturally devastate Esther, his partner of nearly 4 decades. The public nature of their feud with Hichilema, including disputes over Lungu's funeral, adds to her grief by denying her a dignified mourning process. en.wikipedia.org. BBC.com. Public humiliation. If Likando's speech directly targets Esther, accusing her of corruption or exploiting her husband's legacy, it could intensify her public humiliation. The ongoing investigations and property seizures already cast a shadow over her reputation, and a high-profile speech could amplify this stigma. BBC.co.uk. Family pressure. As the matriarch, Esther may feel responsible for protecting her children, like Tassila, from similar attacks. The speech might exacerbate family tensions, especially if it questions their integrity or political influence. BBC.com. Funeral dispute fallout. The bitter row over Lungu's funeral, where the family insisted Hichilema not attend, has already caused chaos and public confusion. Likando's speech could frame Esther's stance as divisive, further isolating her during a time of mourning. BBC.com. Emotional and social impact. Esther's devastation would stem from the intersection of personal grief and public vilification. In Zambia, a predominantly Christian nation where mourning is sacred, such attacks could be seen as particularly cruel, potentially garnering sympathy for Esther among some Zambians. However, UPND supporters might view her as complicit in Lungu's alleged misdeeds, deepening her isolation. BBC.com. Parliament's reaction. Silence or support. Parliamentary dynamics. Zambia's parliament is a battleground for UPND and PF, with the former holding a majority since 2021. A speech by Honorable Likando, whether from UPND or PF, would likely polarize the chamber. The reaction, silence or support, depends on the speech's content and the political affiliations of MPs. Africa.org. Possible reactions. UPND MPs. If Likando is a UPND member, the speech might receive vocal support from the ruling party, who could see it as a chance to weaken PF's morale. MPs might echo the accusations, citing anti-corruption efforts or Lungu's alleged authoritarianism. However, some UPND MPs might remain silent to avoid appearing vindictive, especially post-Lungu's death. BBC.co.uk. PF MPs, including Tassila Lungu, would likely condemn the speech as disrespectful and politically motivated. They might stage walkouts, issue counterstatements, or demand an apology, as seen in past parliamentary clashes. Africasacountry.com. Neutral or silent MPs. Independent or moderate MPs might opt for silence to avoid escalating tensions. The Speaker could intervene to maintain decorum, especially if the speech violates parliamentary etiquette. The precedent of Vice President Mutal Nalyamango addressing PF concerns in Parliament suggests a push for neutrality in sensitive matters. Africasacountry.com. Factors influencing reaction. The timing of the speech, post-Lungu's death, could lead to a muted response from some MPs due to cultural sensitivities around mourning. However, if the speech gains traction on social media or in the press, MPs might feel pressured to take a stand. Silence could signal tacit approval or discomfort, while vocal support or opposition would reflect party loyalty. BBC.com. Social media erupts. Social media's role in Zambia. Social media, particularly platforms like Facebook and WhatsApp, is a critical arena for political discourse in Zambia. Lungu's death, announced by his daughter Tassila on Facebook, sparked immediate reactions, with condolence messages and rumors circulating rapidly. A controversial speech by Honorable Likando would likely trigger a similar online firestorm. Africa's a country. .co.uk. Nature of the eruption. Pro-Lungu sentiment. PF supporters would flood social media with posts defending the Lungu family, accusing Likando of disrespecting a deceased leader. Hashtags like #JusticeForLungu or #RespectTheDead could trend, amplifying PF's narrative of victimization. Africa'sACountry.com. UPND counter-narrative. UPND supporters might share clips of the speech, framing it as a bold stand against corruption. They could point to documented allegations against the Lungu family to justify the attacks. ICIJ.org. Public polarization. Independent users, including civil society and religious leaders, might call for restraint, echoing sentiments from groups like the Council of Churches in Zambia. Memes, videos, and WhatsApp threads would spread rapidly, with some users joking about the political drama, as seen with the Yango driver's comments on Hichilema's speeches. BBC.comafridaycasacountry.com. Misinformation risks. Rumors about Lungu's health or the funeral dispute could resurface, with users speculating about Likando's motives or the government's role. Africa'sACountry.com. Impact on public opinion. Social media would amplify the speech's divisiveness, potentially deepening Zambia's political rift. The lack of clarity around Lungu's funeral arrangements already caused confusion online. A provocative speech would exacerbate this, making it harder for Zambians to mourn collectively. BBC.com. 6. PF members respond to the accusation. PF's position. The Patriotic Front, led by acting President Given Lubinda after Lungu's death, has consistently defended Lungu and his family against UPND's actions. PF members would likely view Likando's speech as an attack on their party's legacy and respond aggressively. Africa'sACountry.com. Possible responses. Public denouncements. Lubinda, who spoke emotionally at Lungu's memorial, might issue a statement condemning Likando, accusing UPND of exploiting Lungu's death for political gain. Africa'sACountry.com. Legal action. If the speech includes defamatory claims, PF members like Tassila Lungu or Makibi Zulu, the family's lawyer, might threaten lawsuits, as seen with Dalitso Lungu's response to media allegations. Africa'sACountry.com. Rallies and protests. PF could organize rallies at their headquarters, as they did during Lungu's mourning period, to mobilize supporters and counter the narrative. BBC.com. Media campaigns. PF might use friendly media outlets like Diamond TV to broadcast rebuttals, framing the speech as an attack on Zambian values. Africa'sACountry.com. Internal challenges. Lungu's death left PF fragmented, with leadership disputes between figures like Lubinda and Mile Sampa. The speech could exacerbate these tensions, with some PF factions using it to rally around the Lungu family, while others might distance themselves to appeal to moderate voters. Wikipedia.org. What this means for Zambia's politics. Polarization and instability. Likando's speech would deepen Zambia's political divide, reinforcing the UPND-PF rivalry. The ongoing funeral dispute already highlighted how personal animosities can destabilize national unity. A provocative speech would further erode trust in institutions. BBC.co.uk. Impact on 2026 elections. With Lungu barred from the 2026 race and his death leaving PF leaderless, the speech could weaken the opposition's ability to unite against Hichilema. However, it might also galvanize PF supporters, boosting turnout for a new candidate. Conversely, UPND risks backlash if the speech is seen as disrespectful. Safrica.org. Democratic norms. The speech raises questions about political decorum and the use of personal attacks in Zambia's democracy. Lungu's tenure was criticized for undermining judicial independence and media freedoms. Hichilema's government now faces scrutiny for its handling of opposition figures. Such rhetoric could further erode public trust in governance. Democracyinafrica.org. Regional implications. Zambia's stability is crucial for Southern Africa. The African Union and leaders like South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa have emphasized unity in response to Lungu's death. A divisive speech could strain regional perceptions of Zambia's democratic health. U.in. Final thoughts. Should this have been said? Arguments for the speech. Accountability. If Likando's speech highlights verifiable corruption, it could serve the public interest by holding powerful families accountable. ICIJ.org. Political strategy. In a competitive political environment, such a speech could rally UPND's base and weaken PF's influence ahead of 2026. Freedom of speech. As a parliamentarian, Likando has the right to express controversial views, especially if they reflect constituent concerns. Arguments against the speech. Cultural insensitivity. Attacking a deceased leader's family during mourning violates Zambian Christian values, risking public backlash. BBC.com. Polarization risk. The speech could deepen divisions, undermining Hichilema's calls for unity and harming national stability. BBC.co.uk. Lack of evidence. If the accusations are unsubstantiated, they could be seen as defamatory, damaging Likando's credibility and UPND's reputation. Conclusion. The speech, while potentially strategic, is likely ill-timed and divisive, especially post-Lungu's death. It risks alienating moderate Zambians and escalating tensions without clear evidence. Dialogue and respect for mourning traditions would better serve Zambia's unity and democratic health.